Welcome back to the deep dive. You know the drill. We take a stack of dense research, public health guidelines, and expert consensus, and we distill it down to the essential, actionable knowledge you need.
And our mission today is pretty laser focused.
It is. We are unpacking what it really takes to eat healthily when you're on a plant-based diet. We've gone through all the major public health sources to really understand the building blocks.
And crucially, the planning. That's the entire conversation, really.
Right.
Because when we say vegan diet, just to be clear for you, the listener, we mean a diet based exclusively on plants. So vegetables, grains, nuts, fruits.
But the key distinction is the complete exclusion of all animal products. So no dairy, no eggs.
None. And that's what creates this nutritional puzzle you have to solve.
It's a puzzle, exactly.
And look, the sources are clear that a well-planned, varied vegan diet can provide everything you need. It is a completely viable approach.
But the key phrase there is well planned.
It is. If you just take out meat and dairy without thinking about what you're putting back in, you are absolutely risking deficiencies in some vital areas.
So our deep dive today is going to hit two main areas. First, we'll cover the foundational daily guidelines, sort of the rules of the road for any healthy diet.
Right.
And then we'll pivot to those critical nutrients that, require careful, almost surgical sourcing. They don't just jump out at you from every plant.
You really have to move beyond this general idea of just eating more plants and get into intentional sourcing and, frankly, intentional fortification.
Okay, so let's start with that big picture, the basic framework. This applies to most adults and kids over 2 as well, according to the health guides we looked at.
The structure of a healthy plate is, paramount, whether you eat meat or not. The goal is at least 5 portions of a variety of fruits and vegetables every day.
A variety, not just 5 apples.
Exactly. And your main meals should be based on starchy carbohydrates. So think potatoes, bread, rice, pasta. But, and this is a big but, you want to choose whole grain options whenever you can.
Why is that whole grain part so much more important in a plant-based context?
It's all about nutrient density. Whole grains give you maximum fiber, which is so critical for gut health, for feeling full, for regulating your blood sugar.
Makes sense.
In a diet that naturally excludes certain types of fats, maximizing the efficiency of your main energy source becomes just crucial.
Got it. What else is on that general list?
2 other big ones. Hydration, 6 to 8 cups or glasses of fluids daily is what's recommended. And then fats. You want to be choosing unsaturated oils and spreads, but keeping those amounts pretty small.
Okay, so that's the foundation for pretty much everyone.
Yes.
Now let's get to the non-negotiables specifically for vegans. This is where the planning really starts to diverge, right?
It really is. First 2 are the obvious substitutions. For protein, you have to deliberately include beans, pulses, nuts, things like that at every meal.
Every meal.
Every meal. And second, since you're not getting dairy, you must include fortified dairy alternatives. Think soya drinks, yogurts, and as a health note, always try for the lower fat, lower sugar versions.
You said the word fortified a couple of times now. Let's really hammer that home. If someone is new to this, what does that mean, and why is it so critical to check for?
It is the difference between a functional food and just a treat. Fortified means a nutrient that isn't naturally there has been deliberately added back in.
Like B12 or calcium in plant milks.
Exactly. Since a vegan diet is naturally low in those, fortification turns that soya drink from just a beverage into a mandatory nutrient delivery system. You have to read the ingredient list like a set of safety instructions.
Good way to put it.
The third non-negotiable is omega-3 fats. So eating nuts and seeds rich in omega-3s every single day. The sources specifically call out walnuts as a great, easy option.
And the last one?
Just the standard health advice. Foods and drinks high in fat, salt, or sugar. Eat them less often and in small amounts.
Okay, so let's unpack that. The sources all highlight that without this kind of intentional planning, you could miss out. If someone is just starting, what are the, say, big 6 nutrients that are the biggest hurdle?
Okay, there is a crucial list of 6. These are the ones that need intense scrutiny. They are calcium, iron, vitamin B12, iodine, selenium, and vitamin D.
And we should stress, relying on fortified foods or supplements for these isn't a failure.
Not at all. It's a sign of a well-planned, successful, and healthy vegan diet. It's just part of the process.
We hear about calcium, iron, B12 all the time, but let's quickly touch on iodine and selenium. Where do they fit in?
It's so important not to overlook them. Iodine is essential for thyroid health. Vegans can get it from iodized salt, though the amount can be inconsistent, or small amounts of seaweed.
But you have to be careful with seaweed, right?
Oh, very careful. Some types are excessively high in iodine, and selenium, which is a key antioxidant, you find it in nuts and grains. But the amount really depends on the soil the food was grown in. It's just hard to source consistently.
So that brings us back to that need for a wide variety of whole foods.
Exactly.
Okay, let's move to the most famous one, vitamin B12. What does it do, and why can't you just eat, I don't know, a bunch of fermented vegetables and call it a day?
B12 is absolutely vital for healthy blood and critically for a healthy nervous system. The problem is that B12 is made by bacteria.
Okay.
Animals consume those bacteria, so meat, fish, and dairy become the primary sources for non-vegans. The idea that you can rely on, like, unwashed vegetables or something for B12 is just a dangerous myth.
So where do vegans get it reliably?
You have three reliable pillars for B12: fortified breakfast cereals, fortified unsweetened soya drinks, and fortified yeast extract like Marmite or nutritional yeast flakes.
And even with those pillars, the sources still say you might need a supplement.
Absolutely. The consumption has to be intentional, daily, and sufficient. But even then, the sources are clear that a vitamin B12 supplement may still be needed. It's the ultimate insurance policy for your long-term health.
A non-negotiable insurance policy.
Yes. Now, let's pivot to bone health. So, calcium and vitamin D, non-vegans get most of their calcium from dairy. What are the equivalent powerhouses for a vegan?
So I hear a lot about kale and especially spinach being calcium powerhouses. But the research you pulled puts a big asterisk next to that, doesn't it?
It does, and this is a fantastic question. It's a real aha moment.
Uh-huh.
It highlights the difference between reading a nutrient chart and understanding biology.
Okay.
So good vegan sources are green leafy vegetables like broccoli, cabbage, and okra. And you're also relying heavily on those fortified drinks: soya, pea, oat, and calcium-set tofu.
So where does spinach go wrong?
Here's the nugget of insight. Spinach does have high levels of calcium, but your body can't digest or absorb all of it,
Why not?
because spinach is also high in something called oxalic acid, which binds to the calcium. This makes spinach a very poor source of usable calcium compared to other greens.
That's fascinating. So it's not just about what's in the food,
Mhm.
but what your body can actually get out of it.
Exactly. I also saw dried fruit on your list: raisins, prunes, figs. Those are good sources too, right?
They are, and they're great for quick energy, but there's a dental health warning that comes with them.
Yeah.
A 30-gram portion of dried fruit does count as one of your 5 a day, but the advice is to eat it at meal times, not as a snack between meals. It's to reduce the sugar's impact on your teeth. It's about timing, not just quantity.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes sense. Let's talk about iron. The sources say a vegan diet can actually be pretty iron-rich. So what's the complication?
The iron challenge isn't about quantity, it's about the specific form of the iron and how well your body absorbs it.
Okay.
Iron from plant foods is called non-heme iron, and it's absorbed by the body much less well, sometimes significantly less well, than the heme iron you find in meat.
So even if your plate looks great on paper, you might not be getting enough usable iron.
That is the critical difference between consuming iron and utilizing iron. The sources don't go deep into this, but the trick is to pair your iron sources with vitamin C.
So adding bell peppers to your lentils, that kind of thing.
That's the next level of strategic planning. But just sticking to the sources, what are the high priority plant sources of iron we need to be eating every day?
Focus on pulses, wholemeal bread and flour, and again, those iron-fortified breakfast cereals. Dark green leafy vegetables,
Yeah.
watercress, broccoli, spring greens, plus nuts and dried fruits like apricots and figs,
A lot of overlap with the calcium sources.
which is helpful. Okay, let's move on to vitamin D. It works with calcium to keep bones, teeth, and muscles healthy.
Right, and I always associate vitamin D with sunlight. Is that still the main source here?
It is, for about half the year. Sunlight exposure from late March to the end of September is vital. Beyond that, dietary sources are really limited. For vegans, you're back to fortified fat spreads, fortified cereals, and fortified soya drinks.
So I'm guessing the advice for supplementing becomes universal in the winter.
Absolutely. The advice is for everyone, vegans included, to consider a daily vitamin D supplement during autumn and winter. The sun is just too weak.
And for vegans, there's a catch, right?
A big one. You have to read the label carefully to make sure the vitamin D isn't from an animal source.
Yeah.
Some D3 is animal-derived.
Right. Good to know. Okay, final key nutrient: omega-3 fatty acids. We hear so much about these for heart health, especially from oily fish, which vegans obviously don't eat.
This is where we have to introduce what we're calling the omega-3 caveat.
Okay.
Plant-based sources of omega-3 have a different form of the fat than what's in oily fish. And while plant sources are essential and healthy, the evidence suggests they may not have the same proven benefit for reducing heart disease risk.
That's a crucial distinction. So they're not useless, it's just that the mechanism might be a bit different.
Exactly. So what are the best plant sources we should be aiming for daily?
You want to focus on oils and seeds. So ground linseed or flaxseed oil, vegetable or rapeseed oil, chia seeds, shelled hemp seeds, and going back to our first rules, walnuts.
And we should remember, overall heart health is also supported by everything else we mentioned. The 5-a-day high fiber, cutting saturated fat, limiting salt.
Precisely. And if we connect all this detailed planning to the bigger picture, it becomes even more critical during certain stages of life.
You mean when nutritional needs are higher?
Exactly. Vegans who are pregnant or breastfeeding need to be exceptionally vigilant to make sure they're getting enough for their child to develop healthily. The need for planning and professional advice is magnified.
And same for parents raising children on a vegan diet.
Absolutely. They have to ensure a wide variety of foods to provide all that energy and all those vitamins needed for proper growth. For vulnerable groups, the stakes of planning are just much higher.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? This deep dive shows that a healthy vegan diet is absolutely possible. But it's about more than just eating vegetables.
It relies so heavily on that intentional planning, on consciously using fortified foods and embracing certain supplements like B12 and vitamin D, especially in the winter.
You have to treat your diet like a carefully calculated nutritional equation.
Which brings up an important question for you to think about. We talked about the challenge of non-heme iron absorption and how vitamin C gives it a powerful boost.
Right.
So, given that difference in absorption rates, how could you strategically build a purely plant-based meal, say one built around beans and lentils, to maximize that iron absorption using only vitamin C-rich ingredients without adding totally new components to the recipe?
That is the next level of culinary and nutritional thinking required for success. Thank you for diving into the sources with us today. Our suggestion is to take this list, B12, iron, calcium, vitamin D, and start focusing on those fortified labels on everything you buy.
Great place to start.
We'll catch you on the next deep dive.